Welcome, everybody. I'm very excited to be here with you today. My name is Jean Lauer. I work with Cine Las Americas and had the honor this year of curating the Hecho en Texas competition lineup. And I'm also really excited because with me today are the director and producer of our feature documentary selection, Fearless. So I'm going to invite Wojciech and Valentina to please introduce yourselves and talk about your role on Fearless.
Hello.
Hi, I am Valentina and I am one of the producers of Fearless. And what else? That's it.
Yep. And my name is Wojciech Lorenc. I directed the film and co-produced it as well.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to start a little off track from the film itself, but we're going to come back to it. But just to get to know both of you a little bit, I would love to hear who are the filmmakers or other artists that inspired you to become a filmmaker storyteller?
All right.
Oh my God, go first.
You want me to
yeah,
start?
You have a,
So I grew up in Poland. I lived in Poland until I was about 18 years old, and I grew up watching a lot of Polish movies with Polish directors, and so there were names like Krzysztof Kieślowski, for example, who was really big in the 90s, and these are the kinds of films that I grew up with, and mostly really narrative films. So didn't really get much into documentaries until later on, but even with the narrative films that I was watching and really admired and really liked, a lot of those films were very much realistic. I guess the style of them was much closer to realism and kind of gave you a feel of a realistic cinema, not so much a stylized cinema. And I think that's kind of where I started enjoying that kind of cinema, and later on I transitioned into enjoying documentaries a little more. And yeah, that was my start. That's where it started.
Great. Valentina, how about you?
Well, I started actually working for a film for Wojciech as an art director like 20 years ago almost. And I am more of a painter, a graphic person, and from there I just started to love the industry, the buzz and the hustle of it and the battle, because it's like fighting a war, making a film. You're fighting with everybody and yourself. So I have to say that Wojciech was a huge inspiration for me to learn to love this craft.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about Fearless. Where did you well, how did it come about? It's the standard question, like, why this boxing gym? Did you know the people before you started filming them, or what drew you to tell the story of Fearless Boxing?
That's so, I mean, it's a film about boxing, and you would think that we would have some kind of interest in boxing, and the truth is that we really don't.
No, not at all.
I mean, I have never done any kind of boxing whatsoever. I knew nothing about boxing. The same with you,
absolutely.
Right?
I don't want to get hit on the face.
Yeah, that would be my main concern first. If you asked me about anything boxing related 3 years ago, I would say, well, I don't know anything, and please don't punch me in the face. So what happened was we moved to Houston, and I work as a film professor at Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas, and we live in Houston. And so I would drive from Houston to Huntsville. It's about an hour drive, and Conroe, the town of Conroe, is like right in the middle of there. So I would drive by that town almost every day, and I wouldn't think much of it. And at some point, one of my colleagues, another professor, she mentioned that she was very much involved in helping this really nice place that really takes care of the community, takes care of kids, and she's involved in helping them raise money and do all sorts of events to raise money and help their kids. And she basically asked, is anybody interested in helping out? Because there was this interesting gym, and I thought, and then she mentioned it was in Conroe, and I thought that sounds interesting. I mean, boxing, even though I didn't have any interest in boxing, at that point we were both thinking about our next project.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, boxing is visual. Like as a filmmaker, you always try to think about things that are visual, right? You don't want, I mean, the last thing you want is a talking head talking about things that are difficult to visualize, and boxing right away you see something that's very visual. So I thought I'm just going to go and see and explore. So I decided to drive there one day, and my very first steps into the gym, I already was thinking about, well, maybe we can make a documentary here without really knowing anybody. So I walked in. I introduced myself to James, to Nancy, and I started talking to James, and we sat down, and he started talking about what the gym was about. And the thing with James is that before you know it, an hour goes by, and he just keeps talking and talking and talking. He's great. He's great. And I very carefully kind of broached the subject of like, how would you feel about maybe me shooting something about your gym? And he was, from the very beginning, he was very open to that. I mean, we didn't really know any of the characters then. We didn't know anything. The only thing we knew at that point was that it's a wonderful place that helps the community, and it's a boxing gym. And I think right away we thought about, there's that connection about the sport of boxing and fighting for, fighting as a metaphor for going through hard times in life. We kind of saw that from the very beginning. But at the very beginning, we didn't really know any of the characters yet.
Absolutely, none of those people. But the funny thing is that when you think about gym, at a boxing gym, you always think like, oh, people are just fighting, training, everybody must be so aggressive in there. I don't want to go into that place or whatever. Mm-hmm. But once we were there, you realize that this is a community. It's like a sanctuary for people where parents go to get help and hope for their kids. The teenagers go to get some kind of guidance or help. And these people are facing hardships that, we're talking about hunger, basic necessities, so many things against them that make you feel hopeful, because they're feeling hopeful about their future, and they work hard to keep on going, even though they're having such a hard time. And this place is a community, a little community on itself, that is helping people with the little resources they have. Because, by the way, as far as we know, James and Nancy they never made a profit. So it's pretty amazing.
Well, and it ends, right, and we can come back to this later if you want, but it ends with the gym being closed. Like your story at least ends with the gym being closed. I don't know if you want to speak about that now, or as part of the rest of the conversation, but I do want to ask, in general, when people watch this film, and our audiences, the Cine de las Americas audiences watch this, what do you hope that they take away from the experience?
Wow. Wow, that's a tough one. Well, we see minorities, people of color, in this film, fighting against the current, but such is life, right? But even though such is life, they help each other. There is always a hand that you can give to somebody that might be in a worse situation than you, and give them hope and get hope back, because you're helping them, and that's helping you in a way to keep on going for yourself.
I think for me the main thing that I was latching on to when we were telling the story was that okay, so I'm a first generation immigrant in this country, and I know that I noticed early on that there is that sentiment in United States of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. right? That you're supposed to find a way for yourself, work hard, and if you work hard, you will make a better life for yourself. And it's a really strong sentiment that you really hear all the time here, and expressed in many different ways, maybe not in these particular words, but that idea that if you work hard, the system will reward you for it. And I always felt that it was a really nice, optimistic sentiment, but at certain point it can be a little bit naive, because the life can be a little bit more complicated than that. And the system in which we are thrown in, and some people are thrown in, can be a little bit more complicated than that, and can be a little bit more cruel. Mm-hmm. So very early on, we realized
that is true. I agree.
We realized when we were meeting people at the gym that many of them they are people who work really hard. They work extremely hard, and they do everything that they're supposed to do. They do more than they're supposed to be doing. They do everything that the society asks them to do and more. And even with doing that, they still hit the wall.
It's not enough.
And it's not enough. And this is where, you already saw the film, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have Dalen. Who's an 18-year-old who's a really hardworking kid. He got a scholarship to go to college, and he was a football star in Conroe High. And again, he's a perfect example, doing everything, checking all the boxes. Okay, I'm doing everything exactly how you're asking me to do. But because of his circumstance, even though he got a scholarship, he doesn't have enough money for books. He doesn't have enough money for food. He has to drop out, and he's so close to getting in trouble because of the people that he's surrounded by. And so, I mean, that's just Dalen, and we can say the same thing about Leslie too, right? I mean, Leslie is working really hard, not only for herself. I mean, she's a young girl, but she's helping her mom. She's helping her mom raise her sisters, yeah. And again, the same thing. But unlike her peers, she also has that additional thing that she has to overcome, which is, well, her dad was deported, and that's additional hardship on the family. Of course, you have the emotional, but also you have the financial hardship. You have all of these different things associated with that. So it's not enough for her to work hard. It's not enough for her to work extra hard. She has to work super extra harder than everybody else. And even that might not be enough. So I think really, I mean, at the heart, that's what the film is about, and it really is very much about the situation of the immigrants and people of color in this country, how they are told that, well, if you work hard, you can reach that quote unquote American dream. And I think what we were trying to show with this film, and this kind of like a micro level, that, well, it's not that simple. Sometimes that's not enough.
Yeah, that was definitely my takeaway. And I appreciate that it's hard to tell this type of story because the arc isn't your kind of, like you say, like that dream hero arc, right? But yet this is a realistic scenario. This is happening every day, not just because it's a documentary, is it realistic, right? Like it is definitely applicable in many circumstances. And I really enjoyed the style of the film where you're thrown, like I've just walked into the gym, right? And I'm watching the training going on, and I'm listening to the conversations, right? And so we get to know the characters in such a way that we are pulling for them. And it is, I'm getting a little bit emotional, but it is really hard to watch them kind of hit those walls. And yet, no, right, this is life. this is their lives, right? But this is a lot of people's circumstances too. So I really I really do appreciate that, as hard as it is sometimes to face that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that I should probably speak to a little bit more. When you watch the film, you're probably under the impression that Dalen and Leslie and Jairo, they are like the three main people in the gym in real life. I mean, they are the three main people in the film, of course. But if you get to know the gym, you realize that they are really three out of many other people.
Leslies, there are many Jairos,
Exactly.
and there are many.
I mean, that place is exactly packed with Leslies and Jairos and Dalens, and there's just so many of them. We just had to decide to focus on somebody because it's a film. We can't be making a film about everybody. The storytelling loses its power if you dilute it too much. But there's so many other people, other kids like them that go through that gym, and not only that, there are often kids that go through that gym and they are present in the gym for about a month or so, and then Nancy and James just don't hear from them again.
Yeah.
And it's something that, well, I mean, they really can't catch them all, right? I mean, it's impossible. There are two of them, Nancy and James. There are two of them. It's impossible for them to fix all the problems of the Conroe community just by themselves. But that's another thing I just wanted to emphasize, that there's just so many different kids and different people going through that gym.
Yeah. Well, I definitely got that sense, and appreciate that you highlight that specifically. Okay, you ready for the next question?
Awesome.
All right.
Sure.
So this one is a tricky one.
All right.
What is the question that you would love to be asked about this film, and how would you answer it?
Wow.
Oh my God. You know, I have to say that I love it. I love it when people ask about the people in the film, because we are filmmakers, and you know, sometimes when you make a film, you end up spending a lot of time on the technical, right? You know, here is the camera that you use, here is the color correction process you go through, here is the audio work that you've done. But at the end of the day, I mean, really, the film is a documentary film about people. And I love it when people ask about the people in the film, and not so much the filmmaking process. So anytime people ask about, okay, what's happening with Jairo, what's happening with Leslie, what's happening with Dalen, it makes me happy that we created this vehicle for people to connect with other people, which I think can be beautiful. So
how are those characters? I know more than characters, right? But like, to us, they're kind of frozen in time in this film. But as people, how are Nancy and James? How are some of the other people that you got to know?
Well, I mean, let me start with the gym. In the film, you saw that they closed down the gym, and which is very unfortunate. Now, the good news is that they managed to reopen it at a different location. So the gym is reopened, and in a smaller location, in a much smaller location. It's not the same kind of a large gym that it was before. It's a smaller place. And well, the bad news is that I understand that they continue to struggle, even in a smaller location, and they don't have as many kids. They don't have as much. They have fewer staff, fewer people coming in, but I do understand that they continue to struggle because, as you saw in the film, it's not necessarily a money-making machine, right? When you have kids come in and say, well, I don't really have much money, and James says, just go ahead, just let him train anyways. You know, that's not really the best way to run a profitable business. So I mean, they do continue to struggle with that. So the future for them is uncertain, unfortunately. both James and Nancy, they are very much motivated. Nancy is super motivated. She's just not giving up. She says that she's going to continue to do whatever it takes to keep this place afloat, and if not at this location, maybe a different location. She keeps looking for ways to find money. We are secretly hoping that somebody watching this film is going to say, well, you know what, I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to donate a couple $100. We are hoping this might happen, and that can help them out a little bit. It's really a place that is making a difference, and they continue making the difference. And even with that big setback, they are not well, they are down, but they got up, right? And so it's a
it's a fight. They're fighting back.
Of course, I'm going to throw in a boxing metaphor for this, because
yeah, and I was gonna say that if you will ask me how you can help, I guess you can go to the Facebook page for Fearless, which is
yeah, I mean, you can go to Fearless Dog Film on Facebook, which is the Facebook page for our film, and of course we have links over there to the gym. Yes. And we'll be very happy to.
So if you want to get in touch with the people from the gym, that's a great way to reach out. Yeah. And sometimes you see Jairo's mom posting a comment. Yep. You know, they're active on Facebook. So if you want to help, maybe you can contact them there directly.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
So yeah, sorry. I was like, I have more questions. And then I had another one and they crossed in my brain at the same time. But I would like to know, are you in touch with Leslie? Was definitely a person that I connected with, and would love to know if you know how she's doing and her family.
Well, I mean, they're doing all right. I mean, the situation they're in, it's a difficult situation, and that, as far as I know, that has not really been resolved. It's still the same situation, as far as I know. She's a very strong and resilient girl, and she's at the end of the film, I mean, we really left her in this moment when she's really down. I mean, she lost that fight. It was very, very unfortunate. Yes. And of course, as filmmakers, we were rooting for her, and we really wanted her to win. And I suspect, I hope, as viewers, you wanted to. You know, it's a group of people that they are used to being punched. Let me put it this way. And so for them this is nothing new, right? I mean, if you look at their life stories, being treated unfairly in the ring, it's like, well, what else is new, right? Or getting knocked down and laying on the ring and having to get up and dust yourself off. This is not the first time that this happened to them, you know, literally or metaphorically. This is not the first time, and I think I mean, this is very unfortunate. At the same time, they are strong. I think they are way stronger than I am. And they continue their fight. Yeah.
Have people in the film seen the film?
Yes. So James and Nancy have seen the film already, and they really enjoyed it. They loved it. Nancy was very touched by it, and we are hoping. We still have not had a screening for all of them as a group of people because of COVID. We're still kind of postponing that. Yeah. So individually, people have seen it, and of course, we have been communicating with people individually. But I'm really hoping and looking forward to us having a screening as a group, right? Exactly. For all of us to watch it, and then I think that would be a beautiful thing to do.
Yeah, I know it's been such a Talk about a year that'll add to your troubles, right? Yes,
Yeah.
I am hopeful for you all too that you're able to get together and share this story with them. As you've mentioned, you know, the big hearts of people involved and you all as well really come through in the film. So,
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So I have one more question, and before I ask it, I just want to give you guys an opportunity, if anything's come to mind, anything else that you want to share with viewers today.
Oh my God. Well, if you like the film, please tell your friends. You know?
Exactly.
And you know where to find us on Facebook. Yeah.
And if you like the film and you connect it with Nancy and James and Leslie and Dalen and Jairo, it's really easy for you to connect with them online. Just reach out to us, find our film on Facebook, or just Google Fearless Conroe Boxing Gym and you will find their Facebook page. They would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
They would absolutely love to hear from you.
They love it. Yeah.
And I mean, I mentioned money before, but just like a message of support.
Yes, it's uplifting for them. It's helpful.
They would absolutely love to hear from you. So if you feel that kind of connection with them, don't hesitate. Don't feel like you'll be imposing. They would absolutely love to hear from you.
Well, that's great to hear. Okay, my last question is for each of you, because this isn't your only project. Where else can people find the work that you're working on? And it doesn't just have to be films, I know. Excuse me, I know, Valentina, you said you work in some other mediums as well. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Valentina Trevino. And
do you have an artist page or do either?
Yes, it's Val's Art Diary on Facebook. Pardon? Val's Art Diary on Facebook.
Great. Can you spell that? I've been having people spell it.
Yeah. Val's Art Diary, VALS Art, ART, Diary, DIARY.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I think I spelled it right.
I should find some things more simple.
I think that works.
And Wojciech, how about you?
Well, a great way to connect would be to connect with the Facebook page of the film. So Fearless Dog Film, you can just follow that. And of course, we'll be posting other things that are just related to our filmmaking over there as well. But I am also on Instagram, Wojtek_Lorenc. So that's VOYTEK_LORENC. Wojciech Lorenc on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, if you want to look up my name over there and follow me there. And yeah, we are definitely working on other things and we would love to share them with you.
Amazing. Well, thank you again for your time. Thank you for your commitment to making this documentary and sharing it with audiences. And I wish you all success. And I hope we can stay in touch as this film moves forward.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.